Welcome to this episode of Avitar Face to Face. I'm your host, Jewel Kinch-Thomas, and we are here at Avitar to bring you arts and culture, events, and information that we hope will inspire you to attend events and be involved in your community. And today we have with us a young woman who has been using her passion from broadcast journalism to become an independent filmmaker. And we want to welcome to the show today Carol Bash. Carol, so good to have you here.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
Okay. So we want to talk a little bit about where you started with broadcast journalism. And I know that you work with many different companies, including BBC and HBO. Tell us a little bit about how you got started.
Well, I'd say my journey started actually right from college when I graduated from Hamilton College in the 80s.
Okay.
Basically, I decided that I wanted something fast-paced, something that involved words, something creative. So I actually landed in news. When I first came out, I through a connection got my first job at 60 Minutes at CBS News.
Wonderful.
And I started there entry level as a receptionist and basically worked my way up to the production assistant job, which is the next entry level job. Stayed at 60 Minutes for 5 years and then moved on to the Eye to Eye with Connie Chung show, show at CBS that's no longer on the air, as a researcher. And then from there I decided that I didn't want to stay in news at all.
And what was the catalyst for that decision?
I think what happened is after working in news for many years, I realized that how you tell a news story wasn't fulfilling to me. You know, it's fast, it's formulaic in a way. And I realized when I was leaving the news industry that I wanted to tell more in-depth stories. I wanted to tell longer form stories. I wanted to have a narrative. I wanted to be more creative. And I also wanted to tell stories that really the news cycle wasn't capturing. I wanted to tell historical stories about our history, or really get in depth about the disenfranchised in a way that you can't really cover in a news story. So it was at that point that I decided that I needed to really, I wanted to be a filmmaker. That's really what the epiphany. I wanted to be a filmmaker, not a news reporter.
Right.
And went to get my master's at the New School in Media Studies.
Okay. So you made that decision and you saw an avenue where you could really tell the type of stories that you wanted to tell. And what was your next move then into making that a reality?
Well, after I graduated from the New School in Media Studies, and I had a wonderful time making my student films, realizing, this is really where I want to be, creatively and just artistically. I started the journey of becoming an independent filmmaker. And what that means is, since I hadn't had that experience, is really just sort of finding those jobs that would get me into the kind of storytelling that I was interested in ultimately doing on my own. So I started my first job was at Blackside Productions. And if anybody that knows Blackside, they're the company that did the renowned Eyes on the Prize series. However, I came into Blackside at the last series that they were doing, called This Far by Faith, African American Spiritual Journeys. But through Blackside, that was the catalyst that got me into the community where I wanted to be in, working with a number of renowned and prestigious African American and white production companies that more or less focus on history.
So did you find that transition a difficult one to make?
As far as going into.
From broadcasts,
Hmm.
news, and the hard hitting kind of fast pace to moving into what was for you then a more creative journey, more in depth storytelling.
Hmm. Uh, no, it wasn't, because I think that's really where my heart
Mm,
lied,
okay.
and so, and the other thing about my news background is that I was never doing hard news. Even at 60 Minutes, it's considered long form news
Okay.
for news. So the research that had to go into it and the development of a character was something I brought with me into the independent documentary field.
Okay.
And just, the insight, the in depth of having to research and um, to sort of support the producer and on that level,
Okay.
was something that I just basically just translated from news into filmmaking, into documentary filmmaking.
Okay. Why don't we mention some of the very prestigious films and documentaries that you have worked on to give our viewers, a sense of your journey
Hmm.
into to being part of your own company. So I know that you worked on African American Lives.
Hmm. Right. So basically, I was honored to work with a lot of different, wonderful companies. So one of the productions I worked on was African American Lives for Coonhart
Right.
Productions, Banished with Marco Williams, Freedom Summer, another one with Marco Williams that aired on the History Channel. Um, I had a long relationship with Firelight Media,
Okay.
helmed by Stanley Nelson, and with him I worked on a number of projects, most recently Freedom Riders. Um, and I also started at Firelight Media working on A Place of Our Own.
Okay.
So, and in all of those uh, stories, I was doing different kinds of tasks:
Okay.
associate producing, archival research, um, coordinating, producing, shooting. So I really got a really well-rounded immersion into being an independent filmmaker.
Right, right. So then that gives you the type of background that would enable you to at some point say, I want to create my own company and be able to do my own independent films. So what was the point when you decided that you with all of this fabulous work that you're now doing that you wanted to step out on your own?
I think the goal was always to be independent and to always have my company, um, even from the beginning.
Okay.
I knew that I needed to get the experience to get that. Um, but I think also what was the catalyst was the subject. What was the passion project that would
Okay.
make me want to make that jump? Away from being a support person to saying, no, I have to do
Do,
this story. This
okay.
is this is my story. I'm going
Right.
to do it. And
Okay.
that came in the form of the documentary I'm working on now.
Okay, and that's a beautiful segment because if you're talking about the passion, you are in the midst of a passionate journey about Mary Lou Williams.
Hmm.
Okay,
Hmm.
so let's talk a little bit about what brought you to Mary Lou Williams. How did you discover her?
Mm. I discovered Mary Lou Williams 10 years ago when I went into my in law's house and she was playing on the stereo system.
Mm,
So it was through her music that I got to know of her first. And I was just really just taken by what I was hearing. And I asked my father in law, I said, "Who is this playing?"
hmm
And he said, "That's Mary Lou Williams. She's one of the greats." And I love jazz, know of jazz, but I had never heard of her name.
Okay.
And I was curious about why would he describe her as being great, and I've never heard of her. And so that just started
Mm,
the curiosity of wanting to know a little bit more about this woman. But I kind of dropped that. A year later, a book came out about her life. And I said, "Oh, here's that woman again. Let me read this book. I'm really
hmm
kind of interested about her journey." And
Okay.
then after reading the book, which was Morning Glory, biography of Mary Lou Williams by Linda Dahl, I said, this woman's story is so unbelievably fascinating, and I just have to do it. I just
Okay.
have to bring her
Okay.
to the screen.
All right. What was it about her story? Not that you're going to go into any detail and give away any really significant parts of your documentary, but what was it? What resonated with you that made you say, "I have got to tell this story. People need to hear this."
Right. I think, well, number one, her greatness. I mean, people really don't know who she is,
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, the fact that she was, a woman who was not only playing the piano, she was an instrumentalist, so she
Okay.
wasn't a singer. She was a pianist, but she was also a writer and a composer. And so in the 30s, when most women were singers behind the band, she was the
Mm.
composer and writer for the Andy Kirk Band and the pianist. So already she's standing apart from the typical role of a woman in jazz.
Okay.
And then basically through the bebop period of, the names that we know about, the Dizzy Gillespies and the Bud Powells and all these, Miles Davises, all these icons of jazz,
Right.
she was their mentor. They
Ah.
came to her.
Wow.
Um, and then and then she just kept moving through the decades of jazz, keeping really fresh and innovative with her music. But I think more personally, what really made me say I really want to dedicate all of my time to doing this documentary about this woman was that there was a struggle. There
Mm.
was a struggle involved in her coming across as the genius that she was. She was sort of not given her due, maybe because she was a woman, maybe
Okay.
because she was complicated. And that resonated with me, you know, I guess you could say as a emerging filmmaker,
Right.
trying
Okay.
trying to make my own way, that I saw the struggle and related to that, and I
Mm.
and I just said, maybe we can help each other.
Okay.
Maybe I could, become known through bringing out this woman's journey and her struggle to a larger audience.
Okay. All right. That is wonderful. I mean, that you saw that and connected with her on that level and decided that this could be a win-win situation then. That's a beautiful thing in terms of you being able to move forward with this work and say, okay, this is where I want to be for the next how long?
10 years.
Wow.
I mean,
Okay.
not that I intended it to last that long.
Okay.
I thought, oh, 2 or 3 years tops, I'll be done with this documentary. But I think, that's what you have to have, though. I mean, because you never know how long it's going to take.
This
And
is
you
true.
have to have that passion that never wanes to keep it going.
Right.
So there you have it. I mean, I was all in,
Mm.
all in to finish.
So, how did you envision putting this story together? I mean, what were the various elements that you were looking at that said, okay, this I must have these in order to be true to her story?
Hmm. I knew from the beginning. Let me just back up to say that she was also a phenomenal chronicler of her own life.
Mm.
So she had started her own autobiography, which was
Okay.
never published. She wrote articles and essays. She kept everything. She had letters, she had her photographs. It's all there at the Institute of Jazz Studies at Rutgers
Okay.
in Newark, New Jersey, the Mary Lou Williams collection, and it's vast. So, I knew that I wanted to have her tell her story through her words. We had her words to sort of take us on her journey through
Right.
jazz.
Okay.
So that was a must. Obviously, her music.
Right.
But instead of maybe just using the recorded music, also maybe bringing in artists to sort of reinterpret, give a modern sense of her music through the
Okay.
years.
Okay. And I must say that you have pulled together an absolute phenomenal roster of artists to do just that. Tell us who you captured to be part of this journey.
Well, I have to say that even though the general public might not know of Mary Lou Williams, musicians do.
Right.
Musicians, oh, you're doing Mary Lou. So I was honored to really just have a stellar, group of performers who really wanted to be attached to the project because they had that respect for Mary Lou Williams.
Okay.
And to me, a lot of her compositions are large scale. I mean, this is one of the things about her that's so unique. She didn't just do arrangements for trios and solos. She did it for bands. She was a band arranger. So I knew I wanted to have a big band.
All right.
So, I reached out to Wycliffe Gordon, who's a renowned trombonist, but also a band leader in his own right.
Okay.
And brought him onto the project. And he got together a big band.
Okay.
That's one of the things that you'll see in the documentary, the big band, under Wycliffe's supervision.
Okay.
And then breakout artists in the band were Jerry Allen on piano. And Jerry Allen has been so supportive because she kind of follows the legacy of Mary Lou as a pianist in her own right. And Carmen Lundy, vocalist, who have been both, actually Jerry and Carmen have been both involved with the Mary Lou Williams Foundation for many years, so they're familiar with her music and really elevate her status amongst the music world. And then also I wanted to bring in a trio because in the 40s she was really very innovative in how she arranged those arrangements, and so I was again very fortunate to have Jerry again, but Terry Lynn Carrington on drums and Esperanza Spalding on bass to do a trio of one of her arrangements that she did in the 40s. So I've been blessed to have an incredible assemble
lineup. Oh, wow. That alone, you just, it piques my interest in saying, okay, I want to be at that screening. Because I know many of those artists, and I know how incredible they are in their own right. So now you've got this tremendous lineup as far as artists are concerned. What about the voices that you have in the documentary that are speaking about Mary Lou Williams?
Right. Well, again, her story is so unique and phenomenal that it was easy to really bring in talent that wanted to be a part of the journey. I have to say, at first, though, I was thinking of using her voice, but that didn't really work out. It was too jumpy from different sources. So then we made the decision that no, we have to have her voice read.
Okay.
And with that, I was fortunate to have the phenomenal Alfre Woodard to read as the voice of Mary Lou Williams.
Okay, I'm sure our viewers know Alfre Woodard as a Grammy-nominated, 17 Emmy-nominated actress from screen and stage and film.
Right.
And they probably know her from movies like
Passion Fish,
yes, Star Trek. What were some of the others? Steel Magnolias,
right.
Miss Evers' Boys. So yeah, that is congratulations.
Thank you.
That's wonderful.
Thank you. She's wonderful to work with. Such a giving person.
Okay. And you have some other scholars and academicians in the documentary also.
Yes.
Want to mention a couple of them?
Oh, certainly. Okay. I mean, I really corralled the greats here.
You have surrounded yourself with the best of the best, and brought them to this story and to this journey. And frankly, I can't wait to see the end result.
Well, you'll be there.
Okay.
But some of the wonderful scholars who we have are jazz critic Gary Giddens and author Stanley Crouch, scholar Robin D.G. Kelly.
Okay.
Farrah Griffin of Columbia,
Right,
Bob
right. Bob O'Mealy
O'Mealy.
also.
So
Fantastic.
the top of the top as far as just scholars, scholarship, and just their knowledge of Mary Lou and jazz and
Okay.
history.
Okay. What would you say is the most rewarding part of this journey? What has it been for you?
That's a good question, Jewel.
Okay.
um, I would say, you know what? I would say the most rewarding part is knowing that it's coming to fruition.
Mm.
You know, that I really did. I wouldn't say it was rewarding at the time, but
Okay.
I can look back now and say, wow, I really stuck with this.
Mm.
And it's happening.
Right.
You know, and so, you know, I can look back and say that, you know, my persistence really paid off.
Yes.
And that's the most rewarding thing, that this year there will be a film done on this incredible woman.
Right. And I can say that I am in the same position that you were in, you know, having loved jazz since I was a teenager, but not knowing anything about Mary Lou Williams. So I look forward to that. And we have a clip, I think, from your 10-minute version. We have a shorter version that we want to show people right now. So this is Mary Lou Williams.
The lady who swings the band.
Absolutely.
I met a beautiful princess in the land of Oobla-dee. She smiled and said, Oobadilia, meaning you appeal to me.
Musicians go by the house and they all play on Mary Lou's piano.
All the musicians used to come here and write. If they wrote it at home, they'd bring it here for me to hear to see if I liked it. It seemed like I was inspiration for them.
Mary Lou was telling these great musicians about left hands, right hands. She would write things out for them. Say, play this, play that.
Musicians who she's mentored excel.
Here they are. This is Charlie Parker and the famous Dizzy Gillespie.
Become icons of the genre, while she had to deal with whatever gigs or whatever recording opportunities she could muster.
She's very competitive. She's a little paranoid. She's aware that other people are taking things from her. You can't be an artist like that and not realize that you're being undervalued.
Wow, Carol. Congratulations again. I
you.
can see and almost feel the amount of work that has gone into making this project happen. And I want to say that, you know, we have an unsung hero or heroine in our midst, and you're going to bring her to us. And for that, we certainly thank you. Let me ask you, why should people go and see this?
Well, people should go to see this film because, number one, it's going to be great music.
Okay.
Number two, it's because just to learn about this woman and her incredible life and her incredible art and talent in jazz. But I think most importantly, what's going to appeal to a wide audience is that it's an inspirational story.
Okay.
This is a story about someone who knew of her passion, who never gave up, who followed her dreams, who followed her gift. And through all the trials and tribulations that she went through, and she did, she triumphed in the end.
Okay.
And so I think that's that's inspiration for anybody to go see it.
Yeah, those are the kind of stories that I think can connect with and reverberate with all of us on so many levels. So it's important that we have filmmakers like you who will take the time and will persevere to bring those stories to light, so that we can all be inspired by them. And it has been really wonderful to have you here to talk about this. And we want to find out where and when the film is going to be screened.
Well, the film is going to be broadcast on PBS at some point in 2014.
Okay.
Not sure exactly what series it's going to be on yet, but it will be done this year, and it will be hitting the film festival circuit
Okay.
and screenings across the country. And I think basically the best way to keep in contact with what's going on with the project is to like us on our Facebook page.
Which is?
And the Facebook page is Mary Lou Williams, the lady who swings the band. And you can also follow us on Twitter at MLWProj, PROJ. And we will keep the updates coming on those two pages until our website is launched officially.
Okay. Fantastic. Carol Bash from Paradox Films. We want to thank her so very much for being here today and sharing this work that she is doing. And we want to encourage everyone to follow her on that Facebook page and on Twitter and find out when the screening is happening and when the film will be released, and be sure to be there and support her and witness what this journey of Mary Lou Williams was all about. So we want to thank you all for joining us today. We want to thank Carol very much for being here.
Jill.
And we want to wish you a wonderful day in all that you will do going forward. And at Avitar, we always like to say that the dream is in the mind of the builder and in the hands of the doer. And you're not given the dream without the power to make it happen. So go on out there and make it happen and have a wonderful time doing it. Thank you so much.